Time now for Stanley's Stinkers, the only show that uses reverse prognostication to predict the losers in college football's biggest games. With this week's losers, here he is, Stanley Reese.
Week 3 of the college football season was filled with some thrills and some letdowns for fans. As the weather cools off, the games, they get even hotter. We were 15-5 last week, bringing our overall success rate to 78%. That ain't bad considering we never back down from the big games. We use reverse prognostication to predict the losers in college football's biggest games. Here are the contests we're watching this week on the Stinklemeter. North Texas Mean Green at the Georgia Bulldogs. The last time the Silver Britches from Athens suited up for a game, they came up big with a win against South Carolina. That win gave maligned quarterback Aaron Murray a chance to finally prove he can beat the big teams. Now, with LSU on the horizon, he'll have to prove he can call his dogs up to beat the lesser opponent from Conference USA. Games like these can be scary, but don't expect the Bulldogs to get back up under the porch. Let the big dogs eat again. Stanley Stinker, North Texas. Troy Trojans at the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Coach Dan Mullen and his Bullpups find themselves in an old familiar place with a losing record early. After lighting up the conference a year ago, fans of Hill State believed the wins would continue. Sporting a 1-2 record now, the Bullpups have a chance to even things out against the Sun Belt Soldiers from Troy. With a healthy Tyler Russell, this could be a tune-up for the Cowbells and a tune-up for an assault on the SEC. Stanley Stinker, Troy. Missouri Tigers at the Indiana Hoosiers. This game features the fashion bonanza that's now become the Indiana Hoosiers. With a uniform upgrade in the offseason that includes a touch of chrome, the boys from Bloomington have also upgraded their offense with Nate Sudfeld. The sophomore signal caller is currently ranked as the 5th best passer in the nation. But if the Hoosiers hope to keep up their early success, they'll have to topple an SEC team that's had a week off to rest and relax. This game could be an offensive explosion in which anyone can win. The toss-up goes to the home team with the Chrome Domes. Stanley Stinker, Missouri. North Carolina Tar Heels at the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. The Tar Heels invade the Hive this weekend in what will be the conference opener for the visitors. Last week, the Yellow Jackets stunned Duke to keep their record spotless. Tech's high-powered offense is averaging 54 points per game, but that might just slow down this week against North Carolina. The Tar Heels checked South Carolina in their first game of the year and might have a few gremlins ready to stop the Engineers, but probably not. Stanley Stinker, North Carolina. Arizona Razorbacks at the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. The Piggies from Arkansas head up the East Coast this weekend for a joust against the Red Knights of Rutgers. For fans of the running game, this contest will be perfect. Rutgers has the nation's top runner in sophomore Paul James, while Arkansas has the country's 4th best rusher with freshman Alex Collins. Look for a lot of yards on the ground in this one, with Coach Brett Bielema remaining perfect. Stanley Stinker, Rutgers. Well, stay tuned. We've got a lot more, including an anchor away in Massachusetts, the return of the native in Tuscaloosa, an epic slide continues in Texas, and a cat fight in Death Valley. All that and more coming up after this.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper cars, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Stanley Stinkers is sponsored each week by AnytimeCostumes.com. This is the one-stop place for everything Halloween, from kids to adults, fierce to feisty. Click on the link on our sponsors page for special discounts. AnytimeCostumes.com. By CBSSports.com Fan Shop. It's the place for all the latest college football, Major League Baseball, NFL, and even NASCAR gear. From tees to hats to jewelry, jackets. It's the perfect place to shop for your school colors. Vanderbilt Commodores at the Massachusetts Minutemen. It's been tricky waters for the Commodores so far this year with 2 losses in 3 tries, but both losses have come against top-caliber teams. This week's opponent, not even in the same port. UMass comes into the game with an empty nest, and the Seas look clear for Vandy to even out their record. Anchors away, Stanley Stinker, UMass. Colorado State Rams and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Despite a stellar performance by Texas A&M a week ago, the Crimson Tide of Alabama escaped with their record intact and now faces a Colorado State team that's led by former Bama offensive coordinator Jim McElwain. Don't count on this one being a good homecoming for the former coach. The Tide will be led by senior quarterback A.J. McCarron and sophomore running back T.J. Yeldon, who'd love nothing better than to show the former Bama coach that times haven't changed around Tuscaloosa. Look for substitutes early in this one. Stanley Stinker, Colorado State. The SMU Mustangs at the Texas A&M Aggies. Heisman winner Johnny Manziel might have come up empty last week when he tossed a couple of costly interceptions against Bama, but the game did showcase the talent of junior wide receiver Mike Evans, who ran off almost 300 yards receiving against what was supposed to have been a strong Bama defense. If the tandem has as much success this week, look for a blowout. But if Manziel is caught looking past the ponies, there could be trouble in Aggie land. Nonetheless, A&M may have too much talent to hold back. Stanley Stinker, SMU. Tennessee Volunteers at the Florida Gators. New Volunteer head coach Butch Jones has not endured a whipping like he got last week in Oregon since he was a boy in Saugatuck, Michigan. And that may be enough to inspire his riflemen to work even harder to overcome the quack attack. Florida's had a week off to get over their loss to Miami, but they're not ready for what Coach Jones is ready to unleash. I will take a mad mountain man with a gun over a sulking swamp lizard any day, including this one. In an upset, Stanley Stinker, Florida. Auburn Tigers at LSU Tigers. While the Gus Bus may be finally up to speed on the Plains as Auburn brought home a well-deserved conference win last week against Mississippi State, but the talent gets better this week as the catfight hits Death Valley and Baton Rouge. The LSU Bayou Bengals have looked sharp early, but they could be caught peeking past this game to a date next week at Georgia. Auburn fans will remember last year's game when the Striped Cats almost upset LSU. It could be that close again, if not closer. One play could decide this game, but nonetheless, Stanley Stinker, Auburn. While we're at it, here are a few more games that we have our eyes on. Florida International will get pecked by the Louisville Cardinals. Marshall will lose to Virginia Tech. Purdue will get boiled by Wisconsin. Notre Dame will fall to Michigan State. Arizona State will be cooled off by the Stanford Cardinal. West Virginia will be snapped by the Maryland Terrapins. Tulane will lose to Syracuse. Army will be bombed by Wake Forest. Utah will get scratched by the BYU Cougars. And as the tumble continues in Austin, Texas, the Texas Longhorns will be branded by Kansas State. Stanley Stinkers is a production of GMD Sports. It's intended for entertainment only. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of Stanley Stinkers without the express written permission of me, Stanley Reese, is greatly appreciated. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and also follow us on Twitter. A full podcast and blog can always be found online at stanleystinkers.com. We are the only show in America that uses reverse prognostication to predict the losers in college football's biggest games.